Well, my friends, spooky season do be upon us, and what better way to celebrate than with a super nerdy music theory deep dive, because nothing is scarier than music theory. So, in today's video, we're going to be looking at what exactly makes metal sound evil, and a very specific, very cool function called parallel minor chords. Let's get into it. So, if you're a bit of a music theory boffin, then you've probably heard the term chromatic mediant thrown around quite a bit. On its own, the phrase doesn't really explain much. In fact, people often use it as a fancy label for much simpler chord movements, which can be kind of misleading. Chromatic just means outside the key, and mediant is the third degree of the scale. So when we say chromatic mediant, we're just talking about an unrelated chord a third away. And although this kind of movement is what we'll be talking about the most, there are other ways to obtain a similar spooky, gloomy sound, so we'll be focusing on that too. Speaking of spook and gloom, no style embraces this unsettling sound quite like the edgy, virgin-driven genre of black metal. It's practically tailor-made for those cold, creepy atmospheres. Though this kind of dark, haunted forest aesthetic isn't just exclusive to black metal. If you'd like to learn more about all of the concepts talked about in today's video and unlock access to my entire archive of guitar exercises, masterclasses and song lessons, then click the link in the description down below and get started at Bradley Hall's Guitar School with a free 7-day free trial on me. Being such a sinister sound, it's no surprise that so many movie soundtracks use it too. And it's not just used to create these ominous, tense atmospheres. The other main use for unrelated minor chords is in epic, though still often evil-sounding themes, being a staple cinematic sound. It's that epic cinematic sound that gives symphonic metal that larger-than-life fantasy feel, so it's no wonder it can be found there too. So far, I've been throwing around the term unrelated, referring to minor chords, but what does it actually mean for two chords to be unrelated? In tonal music, we say chords are related when they share the same key signature or when they can be explained with diatonic functions, i.e. they can be found in the same scale. This doesn't just mean it can be any chord outside of the minor scale, but also that it can't be found in any other minor scale, since this would mean they are part of one same key, even if it's a different one. Therefore, if we're in the key of C minor and a D minor appears, even though it isn't part of C minor, it does belong to C Dorian, so they would be related. So really, when you put two minor chords next to each other, the only time they really count as unrelated is if the roots are a third, a tritone, or a minor second apart. Two chords being from keys with very different notes may result in a very distant and wide sound, perfect for making weird, edgy music like prog.
Something that lasts forever, but never let it grow.
Dream Theater loves to do this. If we ease up on the nerdiness a bit, we can get this sound used similarly in other styles to achieve an eerie, distant sound, perfect for floaty atmospheres.
'Cause all my hair's abandoned, all my body, all my heart led to ruin.
Highway Song by System of a Down is an interesting example of this. It does use it for this floaty sound later on, but it also mixes surprisingly well with their quirky, playful sound.
The road keeps moving the clouds become unreal.
This goofy, evil vibe is the signature sound of composer Danny Elfman, where it can be found everywhere in his music.
Kidnap the Santa Claus, throw him in a box, bury him for 90 years, then
Going back to prog for a moment, this dark, distant sound is also very common in Opeth's music, mixing great with their sorrowful death metal vibe.
Dark unaware. Halo, death, all I see is departure.
In a similar manner, parallel minor chords are also a staple of Children of Bodom sound, perfect for their campy horror movie aesthetic. Alright, now it's time to test your ears. I'm going to show you a series of progressions, and your mission is to identify which bar the unrelated minor chords appear. The difficulty will increase with each example, so let me know in the comments how far you got. Good luck! Earlier on, I mentioned that the term chromatic mediant is often used incorrectly to explain simple chord movements. In reality, a chromatic mediant is just a relationship between two chords or keys separated by thirds. Outside of classical music, this term is most accurate when we're talking about a modulation between keys. Modulating by minor thirds is not that uncommon, since harmonically speaking, it would be the same change as modulating to the parallel minor or major. This is often used to create contrast between different sections, either to make a distinction between parts, or to repeat the same thing over again, but with a different feel. The main reason why it's not very helpful to use the term chromatic median to explain why minor chords separated by thirds sound the way they do is mainly because this signature distant creepy sound doesn't really just come from the two chords being third apart. It's more the fact that they're unrelated and really far from any key they can be found in that creates this weird spooky vibe, and this applies for other kind of chords too. Here's some other examples of songs that get a similar sound combining unrelated major and minor chords.